Home prices in Canada nearly doubled between 2011 and 2021 according to StatCan's own numbers. Rents jumped 42.6% in the same window, and national home ownership slipped 69% down to 66.5%. So naturally, everyone points at big corporate landlords and says they're buying up all the houses and wrecking affordability for regular people. Because that's the biggest, richest buyer in the room, right? StatCan actually ran the numbers to check if it's true. And what they find flips the whole story on its head. Stick around, because once you see the actual ownership percentages, you'll think about your own investing strategy completely different, and you might even guess the number wrong yourself. Hi, Kane here. I was a starving artist that started with nothing. 20 years later, I own properties throughout Ontario. Watch my video to see how I struggled. This video is for educational purposes only. If you are going to invest, be sure to speak to a licensed professional. Read the references in the description to see where I've pulled this information from. If there are any discrepancies, please let me know. Without further ado, let's get started. Ask 10 people what percentage of houses in their street belongs to some big investment fund, and most will guess something like 20 or 30%. Some will say higher than that. That guess isn't random. It comes from watching prices climb over a decade straight, while every news story shows a REIT buying up another apartment building. So, StatCan decided to stop guessing and actually pull the ownership records. They looked at 6 provinces and measured how much of the single-family housing stock institutional investors actually own. The number they found sits between 0.1% and 0.4%. Not 20, not 2%, less than 0.5% in every single province they checked. Single-family homes here means the stuff regular people actually compete for: detached homes, semi-detached houses, row houses, and mobile homes. This is the property type first-time home buyers spent years saving for a down payment, where young families look for their first place, and where their affordability panic hits hardest. In that exact category, institutional investors barely show up in the ownership numbers at all. This number matters most in Ontario and British Columbia because those are the 2 provinces where affordability crisis gets talked about the most and where the corporate landlord's story gets repeated over and over on social media. If big investors were buying up detached homes in Toronto or Vancouver at any real scale, you'd expect their ownership share to show up clearly in the data. It doesn't. Even in the most expensive, most competitive markets in the country, institutional ownership in single-family homes stays under 0.5%. Picture what people mean when they say institutional investors. They picture a REIT with a portfolio manager in a downtown office buying up entire subdivisions block by block, turning starter homes into permanent rental units. That image drives a lot of anger you see online, but the data shows almost none of that happening in a single-family market. REIT exists, and they do own property, just not the detached homes and row houses that most buyers are trying to purchase. Now, flip over to the rental housing, and the picture changes completely. Small-scale individual investors, meaning people who own 5 or fewer investment properties, own the largest share of rental housing in nearly every province StatCan studied. Their share ranges from 35.9% in Nova Scotia up to 57.1% in Prince Edward Island. That's not a small slice. That's the majority owner in most of these markets. Who is the small investor really? It's a guy who bought a duplex and rents out the other unit to cover its mortgage. It's the nurse who bought a condo years ago and rents it out instead of selling it. It's a couple who kept their old house when they upgraded and now rent it for extra income. None of these people run a company. They're not buying a portfolio spreadsheet with a team behind it. They're just regular people who bought 1 or 2 extra properties. StatCan did flag one real concern here. If bigger investors start controlling more of the rental market, competition could shrink and rents could climb even faster. So, they checked 6 provinces in 2022 specifically for that kind of concentration and found the rental market stayed competitive, not concentrated, in every one of them. And CMHC backed that up later on too. By 2025, their data showed no real difference between REITs charged for rent and what small landlords charge for the same kind of unit. If institutional money was driving up prices, you'd expect these rents to go up higher than everyone else's. They don't. Which means, if they're trying to buy your first rental property, your real competition isn't a hedge fund with unlimited capital. It's someone exactly like you, another small investor trying to grab that same duplex or that same rental condo before you do, in a market where the biggest players barely register at all. So what actually pushes up prices this much if REITs aren't the ones doing it? 3 things, stacked up on top of each other over the decade. Not enough homes getting built, small investors buying up the limited stock that does exist, and rent growth that outruns paychecks year after year. Stop worrying about competing with some hedge fund manager for a house, and start looking at supply numbers and small investor demand in your actual target market instead. There's no 1920s corporate land grab happening here. The door to your first duplex is open, just crowded with people exactly like you. Have you ever actually lost a house to a REIT, or was it always some guy with a pre-approval? If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to watch my next one on the most creative way to buy your first house in today's market. Thanks for watching.